A century after a legendary British explorer made his name in Antarctica, a modern-day admirer decided to follow in his footsteps. His story from Anthony Mason.
It may be the most desolate and forbidding landscape on the planet. Before he tried to cross Antarctica alone in 2015, British explorer Henry Worsley got some advice.
Don't ever think you're going to conquer the pole. If you're really lucky, the Antarctic will allow you in for a snapshot, but don't ever think you're going to beat it.
Trekking the vast frozen continent, Worsley would say, was like being an atom on an ice cube.
This is as big as Europe.
Oh, yeah.
Journalist David Gran chronicles Worsley's expedition in his new book, The White Darkness.
He arrived by the Weddell Sea, which is part of the Atlantic Ocean, and then he trekked 570 nautical miles to the South Pole.
Worsley's inspiration,
Some of the old Arctic explorers are here.
was another British adventurer, honored on the walls of the Explorers Club in New York.
And this is Shackleton, who obviously Henry Worsley revered so much.
Sir Ernest Shackleton led 3 expeditions to Antarctica in the early 1900s. Worsley, a descendant of one of Shackleton's crew, became obsessed with his adventures.
I really believe very strongly in marriage not stopping individual dreams.
Henry's wife, Joanna Worsley, and their children, Max and Alicia, would write messages on his skis before his trips.
Max encouraged him, as you can see.
Push it, fat ass.
Push it, fat ass. That was mine. Come back to me safely, my darling. I didn't worry about him ever.
Why not?
He was just invincible, Henry.
A retired officer of the elite British commando unit, the SAS, Worsley made his first trip to the Antarctic in 2008 as part of a 3-man team reenacting Shackleton's journey to the South Pole.
His face said it all. You don't often see someone quite that happy.
He wasn't expecting to go back.
I was expecting him to go back.
Why?
The Antarctic seems to grip people. It seems to grip and not let go. It had got him.
Mm-hmm.
In 2015, Worsley planned a trip no one had ever attempted, crossing 1,000 miles of Antarctica solo and unsupported.
Good evening. So, on the way at last.
On November 13, 2015, in a satellite phone message, the 55-year-old explorer announced he was off, hauling a 325-pound sled of food and supplies.
Almost from the beginning, he runs into problems.
Everything seemed to go wrong. He found himself in one whiteout after another. He was pinned down in his tent.
But Worsley pressed on, and after 51 days, 656 miles, reached the South Pole. He sent this postcard home from the U.S. research station there.
I will never forget what I owe you. Onwards.
Onwards.
But in satellite calls, Joanna began to sense something was wrong.
He cried quite a lot. He'd never done that.
She urged him to call to be airlifted out.
He just said, I know I'm not going to make it. I will call them, but please let me make that call.
On day 70, just 30 miles shy of making history, he finally did. Flown to a medical station, he called Joanna to report he was safe and having a cup of tea.
Was that the last time you talked to him?
It was, yes.
Doctors soon realized Worsley had bacterial peritonitis,
which is essentially an infection of the inner lining wall and the tissue of the abdomen. He went into septic shock, and all his organs began to fail.
2 days later, Henry Worsley died in surgery. He was posthumously awarded Britain's Polar Medal, also given to his hero, Shackleton. His expedition flag was brought home to Joanna,
which is all very tattered now.
who in time went to the cold land that had claimed her husband.
I didn't learn what he loved, Anthony, I didn't.
But you needed to be there.
But I needed to be there.
In her grief, Joanna Worsley had doubted her husband's love.
I was worried that he loved the Antarctic more. You stay in a black fog of grief for a year, and when I came a little bit out of that black fog, I knew that I didn't believe that.
And you knew that how?
Because if he had loved the Antarctic more than us, he would never have made the call. There's a lovely photograph where he has written in the snow, "I am the Antarctic." And I only ever saw that after he died. It took my breath away, and I thought, gosh, yes, he is the Antarctic. He is the Antarctic.